Hey everyone, it's Asher Freidberg, and I'm back, I think. Unless this doesn't go over very well, and I'll just be gone for maybe like another year and a half to 2 years, and I'll show up in 2026 when we're all, I don't know, probably dead. Anyway, before we get started, feel free to leave a like. I suppose you can also leave a dislike. It would bum me out for like a second, but then I'd remember that's still technically engagement, so I'd feel better and I don't know, probably do something else. Now that I'm back after a year and a half, maybe more, I feel like it's time that we really dive into one of the most influential movies of our time, Morbius. As I'm sure everyone here remembers, Morbius included a post-credit scene where Adrian Toome's Vulture, played by Michael Keaton, was tossed into the Sony universe where Venom and Morbius hang out. The implication at the time was supposed to be that due to Spider-Man and Doctor Strange's multiverse meddling, for some reason, Adrian Toome's Vulture was tossed into the Sony universe. I suppose in terms of the rules that he had to know Spider-Man's identity, I guess that does track, but why would he leave? He is a native member of the MCU. In the post-credit scene, we see Vulture just sort of spawn in a new prison cell. And he's all like, I hope the food's better in this joint. And I'm like, my guy, you just transferred universes. Why is that your first joke? I would be having an existential crisis. Anyway, since in this universe he technically didn't do anything wrong, he's let out of jail. And he then decides to build his own new Vulture suit somehow. Which doesn't really track, because in Spider-Man Homecoming, the guy had a full team helping scavenge Avengers and Chitauri tech to make a Vulture suit. And in this universe, he's clearly not allowed to have that suit because that's all Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff. You could see that his suit's a little different this time around. Plus, how would it have gotten there? He was sent there on his own. It'd be kind of funny if the Vulture suit just kind of also spawned there because the spell's like, yeah, that's part of Vulture, that makes sense. So maybe just in the middle of that dirt field that they meets Morbius in. Then he's all like, oh quick, I gotta get rid of all the MCU references to this suit so I can make sure Sony's allowed to release this. They don't really tell us how much time had passed in between him being taken out of prison and meeting Morbius in, that airfield? Which, by the way, another question, how did he know to meet Morbius there? Did Vulture send Morbius a map of just like a giant empty field with like a little red dot? He's like, I will land here. But back to the suit. I suppose we could find out there was 6 months in between the end of Morbius and where we are now, so I guess he could have made a suit. We don't really know the technology and how that works in the Sony universe yet. It's still kind of coming to fruition. We mostly just have gobs of glue fighting each other. Oh, and for the record, I actually really like Venom Let There Be Carnage. Those were some fun gobs of glue fighting scenes, genuinely. Back to the post-credit scene. Morbius meets Vulture in a random airspace, and I'll give the movie this, that Vulture entrance is pretty fucking cool. I mean, it looks great. The whole movie really should have just been Vulture landing in front of people. Vulture somehow correctly blames Spider-Man for being sent to the wrong universe, and tells Morbius the two of them should team up to take him out to quote-unquote do a little good, even though this universe, as far as we understand, doesn't have a Spider-Man. So I'm not sure if Morbius even knows who he's talking about, but he's just like, yeah, okay, that sounds like a great I like that. Let's do that. So let's talk about why this post-credit scene just makes, absolutely no sense. For one, Vulture's motivations are all wrong. If you remember the post-credit scene of Spider-Man Homecoming, he made the active choice to not sell out Spider-Man to Scorpion. The main reason that this scene just doesn't make sense to me is that Vulture's key motivation in Spider-Man Homecoming was to protect his daughter, to the extent that he went out of his way to throttle her 15-year-old homecoming date. It feels like Vulture's motivations have completely changed in between movies. Now we're going to talk about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. In that incredible film, it actually canonized the MCU to the Spider-Verse's multiverse, with the Doctor Strange and Tom Holland Spider-Man mention, as well as the appearance of the Amazing Spider-Man who went on to appear in Spider-Man No Way Home, as well as the same multiverse visual we've seen in past Marvel Cinematic Universe projects. In Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 2099 and Spider-Woman were going around to reset displaced villains. It appears there were more multiverse issues going on in the background of Spider-Man No Way Home that weren't necessarily Tom Holland Spider-Man's fault. Sure enough, in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, we even got an appearance from Donald Glover's Prowler. This version of Prowler was meant to be the version from the Marvel Cinematic Universe according to concept art. A way to rationalize the Morbius post-credit scene with Vulture being sent to another universe is that he was randomly displaced to another universe the same way his Renaissance variant was moved in the beginning of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. An explanation as to why he might still be in the Venom Morbius Sony universe is that the Spider Society hasn't gotten around to him yet, because they're all really busy trying to make sure that Miles' dad dies. By the end of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, they were still tracking down and sending villains back to their home universes, so they just might have not gotten to Michael Keaton Vulture yet. Theoretically, we could see a live-action Spider-Man 2099 appear in a future Sony Marvel film to track down and bring Vulture back to the MCU. So is this good storytelling? It's more like studio interference as well as scheduling issues between Spider-Man No Way Home and Morbius. Vulture's role in Morbius allegedly was much larger before the movie was moved to being after Spider-Man No Way Home, where Vulture was relegated to just being a post-credit scene. Realistically, this was all by mistake, but it's the kind of mistake that works and they should really pretend it was their plan all along. And I'll choose to believe them because it makes it more fun for me. And yeah, Vulture's motivations still really don't make sense, but we only really saw him in Morbius for like 2 minutes. Hopefully he can appear in a future film where a writer can try to make this make sense. Anyway, that's kinda how Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse retroactively fixed Morbius' weird post-credit scene and how it tied to Spider-Man No Way Home. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video trying to explain how Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse fixed the Morbius post-credit scene that was set up by Spider-Man No Way Home. And if you are watching this without watching any 3 of those movies, what are you doing here? This sounds like nothing to you. You probably don't even know who Morbius is. He's like a not vampire, but not like Blade, but also like a little bit like Blade. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm trying out something new. Hopefully I'll be back. If not, I'll see you guys in 2028.